Greetings, everybody, to the Jane Mackenzie Quantum Medical Centers and Immune Lectures on a Tuesday. It's a warm welcome to everybody. Thanks for joining in from all around the world. I'm just seeing who's around and who's in. And today we're going to be talking about interesting topic affecting probably 95% of all diseases and as a cause, and that would be stress or a stressor. And having a look at how that affects the body and how the body will, first of all, sound an alarm and then move to an adaptation phase and then move to exhaustion and ultimately adrenal fatigue and degeneration, flat battery. So I'm going to be talking from the immune lectures on stress and referring also to the QUEXED, Eductiscio quantum devices we use with the software, and also referring to live information from the 365 Healthy by Choice Quantum Medical Centers, and what we're looking at regarding stress and how we moderate it and assist people. But most importantly, the operative word is assist, because each person is responsible for their health, what they've manifested in their body, and their decision to react or not react to the stress. And we work, really well and very carefully at removing inherited, long-standing stress factors. And that could be, things that are coming in from the ancestors, emotions, sadness, depression, alcoholism, smoking, addictions. And these all present in our lives when we're born, and we then adapt to it also in some way and set up a kind of a false mental construct to deal with it. And we believe our story. So we try and unravel all of that so that there is true peace within people. And then an ability to react to stress or not react to stress and cope better and move out of the exhaustion phase into the adaptation phase and then finally to the alarm phase. And nutrition has a huge, huge role to play in this. I'm just seeing if everything's organized. Nutrition and detoxification are very important factors that shouldn't be ignored on the physical level, including exercise, the release of endorphins, God's natural tranquilizers, circulation, the oxygenation, the breathing, hydration of the body. So we really place a lot of emphasis on the body, and from the software, the body is our temple, and this is giving us the ability to live our purpose, to uncover and succeed in achieving our unique responsibility on the planet. So very important, the physical body. It's easy to start with, easy to see, and then neurologically, emotionally, spiritually, we put the pieces together. And this is also the intention of the quantum software, because it's helping us do that. And the number one thing is to remove the causes. So that's always where we start. As the professor says, if the tire has a nail in it, remove the nail. And, then you can start repairing the tire. So, with that in mind, and I'm sure many of the professors, many of the therapists in the listening in and who will listen, know about this as well. It's no use also buying boxes of nutrients and green juices and so on, when in fact the deep root cause is you, emotional level, what you're holding. So very important to deal with the subconscious. And I always say empty out the rubbish bin. And then, the green juices and the nutrients have got a chance to come into the cells, get absorbed and rebuild the body and the DNA and so on. So, physician, heal thyself. I think that's absolutely critical, and self-responsibility for your healing. People have been taught in the old biomedical model to go outside and seek someone else's advice and take someone else's synthetic toxic medication. And as we've seen, this hasn't served us. And, we have to start bringing back the very important modalities into the more of a holistic, natural healing space. And definitely what we do is not alternative. We work with natural medicine. In many instances, the pharmaceutical is an alternative because it's not natural. Okay, so let's get that straight as well. I only use the word natural. And sets about, resetting this evolutionary track that we took on as humans and reestablishing some harmony within ourselves and the world. So stress is a massive, massive, massive factor. And as I said earlier, it depends on how and if we even react to it. So Hans Selle began developing his now famous theory on the influence of stress on people's ability to cope and adapt to the pressures of injury or disease. And I'm reading from the notes from the Immune Diploma course. And he found that patients with a variety of ailments all reacted in a similar way. And in a way, the symptoms, were reflecting the stress. So he looked at stress as a syndrome with the various stages, and the first stage being the adaptation phase. And what it's saying here, stress is an individual internal response to an external situation. And those that have trained with us, of course, we like to follow, non-judgmental awareness and non-reaction, because the minute you do that, you are thrown off balance, and you're also using your observer brain, rather come through the heart to the gut brain and operate from there. And then you can cope with the stress much better, understand it, interpret it, know why it's there. But if you're constantly up here in the rational, logical observer brain, you're going to judge, you're going to have an emotion, and you're going to stick with your story. We want to remove ourselves out of that. So that's non-judgmental awareness and non-reactive. Always look for the truth, always look for the learning in a situation. And, health, happiness, freedom, love are what we're aiming for. It's not a destination, it's transitory, because it comes and goes in ebb and flow and ebb and flow. So in a day, you can go through a whole series of emotions. But ultimately, the trajectory needs to be going upwards, because all the learning situations we being faced with are there to teach us, to help us clear the past and prepare for the future and live in the present. So we're wanting to, work with that constantly, always. And if you, again, in this rational mind, it's very difficult to understand what's going on, and you just keep getting nailed. So let's understand that there's trials and tribulations. It's a constant movement along a continuum of life, a trajectory. And as we take each step to higher levels of happiness and fulfillment. So stress is one of those things that causes lots of chaos, which will require repatterning of ourselves physically, neurologically, emotionally, and spiritually. And ultimately, the repatterning of ourselves, the DNA, as we achieve higher levels and high states of happiness and peace and joy. Okay, so that, with bearing that in mind, let's get back to this adaptation phase when people are faced with an external stress. So anything causing a stress affects the homeostasis, the harmony of the body. It's called a stressor. And we will get a hormonal response, which will in response to the adaptation. And that's going to, depending on that response, is going to depend on the seriousness of the disease that results. And when it's prolonged, you're getting long-term secretion of the stress hormones, adrenaline, cortisol, knocking at the doors of the cell, complete wind down of immunity. And, if you lose your immunity, you've lost your army. So, long-term stress is not a good thing. A short-term stress, in the past, the lion's chasing you, you climb up the tree, the lion passes, and everything comes back to homeostasis. But a long-term, day after day after day stress is prolonged stress, is the very dangerous one. Will then push us to the next phase, out of the alarm phase and into the exhaustion, into the adaptive phase. So we want to, first of all, there's an alarm. There's a we sense something in the external, depends on our ability not to react and get involved in a disease state. If we do, then we will move to the adaptation phase, which is a reaction. And then we will reach the exhaustion phase if we carry on long-term prolonged. So I'm just saying here again, the long-term continued exposure is incompatible with life, and the organism will die within a few hours during the stage. Otherwise, a stage of adaptation, of resistance, will ensue, where the organism can be maintained in a state of alarm. The adaptive phase is characterized by the vanishing of the symptoms, diminishing or vanishing of the initial symptoms, since the body has achieved an optimal adaptation after still more prolonged stress, however. So just because the symptoms have gone away doesn't mean the stress has gone away, and that sometimes happens, or they'll appear on a deeper level. You see, so continued stress. Let's just take a typical physical one. Let's say pollen, and you don't treat it. Eventually, what can happen is the pollen can be not the effective pollen can be not so severe, but you start getting a much worse lung infection. So that initial stressor was just an awakening to deal with the, for example, pollen, or the toxin that's in the air, or the parasite. So we want to avoid prolonged exposure at all costs. And the exhaustion phase is entered into when the organism receives emergency aid from outside source, which could lead to death of the cells, death of the organism. And it says here, apparently the adaptability of an organism is finite. So you'll reach a point where there's no charge left, adrenal shutdown, nervous breakdown, and into the energy in the body, the life force. All right, and then the stress will continue, the diseases get worse. And so being symptom-free is not an indicator of health, and that's silly. So some people are actually vertically ill without symptoms, taking lots of toxic synthetic medications, but they're not well. So the shift from illness to wellness needs to happen in a natural space and holistically, physically, neurologically, emotionally, spiritually, and detoxifying what's not wanted, what's not needed anymore, as the chaos, the stress that caused the stress needs to be then channeled into a repatterning, and the old detoxified. So many people are carrying around, lots of toxins. They might have dealt with certain things, but the toxin is still in them, not detoxified, haven't let it out the body. So, or the mind or the emotions or whatever. So we do need to detox the old in order to repattern properly and move into the new quantum space, which is on a higher vibration. So it's not only about nutrition, it's very definitely about detoxification. In fact, at the 365 Healthy by Choice centers, we start with detoxification simply because the cells might not be in a position to take up the nutrients, most often not. So let's detoxify, let's reset the body, the electromagnetic fields, the charge of the body, and get the cell membrane potential right to absorb the oxygen and the foods. And then, nutrients can come in, and then we start healing and repairing on another level. So it's a bit of a 4-stage, reset, restore, rejuvenate, and then get to the happiness and the rejoice phase. So very important. And often the toxins in the body are responsible also for the stress, asthma, psoriasis, those kind of things as well. So we've got to remove all of this, remove the nail out of the tire. Things that cause stress can be emotions, toxicity, deficiencies, physical, traumatic, infections, allergies, your job, your family, and other stresses. And, they do accumulate. And so the barrel gets more and more and more full. And until the body reacts, it just says no more. And that's when we've got to bring in remedial intervention, as opposed to always following prevention, which is what we prefer with 365 Healthy by Choice, and what the professor also speaks about all the time. Prevention is always very important. So we want to avoid, the downward spiral as far as possible. So health is seen as the ease of flow, and stresses are things that block the flow of electrons, the resistance. Voltage times amps gives you resistance. So anything blocking the flow, blocking the electron flow, is a stress. Lack of awareness, lack of education, hereditary things, mental factors, greed, anger, delusion, arrogance, allergies, bad posture, toxicity, trauma, pathogens, bacteria, viruses, and so on, perverse energy, heat and cold and dryness, magnetic spin, the wrong geopathic stress, deficiencies and excesses, all play a part to weaken the defenses of the body. And they will go to the weakest link of the body. So it could be the hip, it could be the eyes, it could be the limbs, wherever the weakest point is, will manifest. And it's different in different people. But the same pattern of alarm, adaptation, and exhaustion, and ultimately death is what is followed according to Hansele. So the ability to restore or heal the body is based on how much life force the body has, how much neg entropy. And that again is your chi, it's your prana, it's your life force, and that's your electromagnetic field, it's your flow of electrons. So everything we do is based on the conductivity of platinum, precious metal, minerals, gold, silver, copper, nickel, uranium, palladium, rhodium, etc. The proteins in the body, the oils in the body, and the electrons in the superfoods that we like to consume. Everything is dependent on that, your thought patterns, your emotional state. So we have to constantly keep restoring our life force, our vibration, in order to not react, in order to have a non-judgmental awareness and conserve the life force. And that's where we get to also on with the software. We look at the the obstruction to cure, and we fill out the lifestyle form, because people need to be aware of happiness, of how much plant food they're eating, of how much processed and heated oil, their stress levels. And then we uncover all the reasons for them, and the software gives us more because it's connected to the subconscious of the patient. So ultimately, the therapists are the catalysts, the educators. The patient comes to you to hear all of this. They go home, they do the work. All right. In full support of patients, we've got some, we use a lot of stress adaptogens. This is our stress adaptogen. It's 60 very large capsules. I made this long ago, formulated it. Siberian ginseng, ashwagandha, astragalus, foti, and rhodiola, 5 of the world's top stress adaptogens. And, some of my clients say, well, they know when their husband stopped taking it. So, these definitely work. One thing about 365 Healthy by Choice products, they work. They've got a certificate of analysis. They're 100% natural, and there's no fillers, binders, starch, wheat, dairy, anything added to it, GMO. So that's that. And then in the stress defense shield, we've got the stress adaptogens as well, all 5 of those. as well as another 25 nutrients. So many more adaptogens, many more nutrients, many more complete proteins, long-chain sugars, minerals, vitamins, phytonutrients. And this Stress Defense Shield product was my first product ever that I put together as an insurance against dis-ease. So this product is taken daily by most of the clients. It's also available in a beautiful smoothie form, and there's a nice recipe at the back too. And it is basically a meal in one, and cacao-based, and lots and lots of antioxidants and minerals, and as I said, long-chain sugars, proteins, and phytosterols. The long-chain sugars are very important, and you get that from the superfoods. They're not sweet, and that's what the brain needs. So we sort of dotting the I's, crossing the T's, covering our bases here with a product like this. So it's a tablespoon of the Stress Defense Shield with your berries, your nuts or seeds, your oils, your almond milk, your water, and a little bit of honey if necessary, and you blend this up into something just too delicious. And keeps you going. Those of you who prefer the capsules, we've got it in a capsule form, and we've also got the stress adaptogens, then only on their own. So choices, depends what people want to do. So that's all on the 365 Healthy by Choice website, and there's the online shop there. And we do supply around the world. And any more information you're looking for on all of these lectures, we've had them on Saturdays, we've had them on Wednesdays, we're now on Tuesdays. All the recordings are all on the Jane Mackenzie YouTube, and you'll find lots of Professor Desi's information and complimentary lectures as well there. So alongside, my own, and I invite you to go and have a look and subscribe and comment and enjoy the leading edge information that we're bringing to you from the quantum field. And that's where the answers are. It's all powerful, and that's where Physician Heal Thyself steps in, because we need to go internal. We can't keep going out there. That's the old paradigm, the old biomedical model. Moving into quantum medicine is the new paradigm, and that's where we sit, and that's where we're getting enormous results really quickly. And we've left the other behind in the dust. So I'm really pleased to be in this position where I can share this with everybody, and to be part of the quantum space, the field, and dynamic nutrients, and our focus being life force, and not only preserving our DNA, our genetic code, but actually enhancing it as everything evolves. And this will be a day-to-day thing. And to summarize, it's not an end result. It's moving. Our long lives continue, and we need to face it, because there'll always be. And we've had beautiful opportunities now demanding huge reassessments, huge changes, huge readjustments, and the benefit being huge repatterning. So out of the enormous amounts of chaos, we will get the repatterning into the higher state. And so detoxify ourselves of things that are not relevant anymore, that are not coming with you into 2023. And move with the Earth's evolution. We've got beautiful microbes that imprint on the DNA. The microbes are in sync with the Earth and nature and evolution. So 90% of us is microbial. The probiotic microbiome reset is fundamental for shifts and for conditioning of the DNA. So, give yourself a break off screens, from radiation, phones, and especially in the evening, let your immune system regenerate, let the DNA regenerate, and to take you to the higher levels expected of humanity now. Hope that's giving you some insight into the changes that happen, quantum medicine, and, to work from the gut brain. So any questions, let me know. It's always great to see you all and have you with us. And any specific topics you want discussed, let me know. We can always build them in. And for those of you who with me on a Thursday, we have the Jane Love Miracle Medicine, where I go into loads of case studies. So the topic's always a surprise as well, but we're bringing through real life case studies in the new paradigm, and it's exciting and it's just amazing. So good luck with your own self-healing, and you do know the answers. Bye.